Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Sheila Belanger at this webinar, Key Astrology Cycles of 2022. I'm thrilled to help you launch into this new calendar year with some support from the astrology archetypes. So let's just take a breath and we're just going to dive right in. And here we go. Okay, so I love this quote about astrology from Anne Nordhaus. For all its complexity, however, astrology remains fundamentally simple. It offers a time honored system of symbols that sum up key aspects of human life while providing profound insights and practical guidance. Oh, yeah. Now, are you ready to see yours and the world's life from a bigger perspective? Because that's the gift of archetypal astrology, one of the gifts. Now, in these tumultuous edge times for our world, you need maps to help you navigate the edges of change, both personal, collective. And everywhere you look, inside and out, there are edges, okay? So, archetypal astrology is an enduring navigational map to guide you at the inner and outer edges of change. Now, hi there. Who am I? I'm Sheila Belanger. I'm a strategic transformation coach and archetypal astrologer with over 39 years supporting thousands of people to successfully navigate their key edges of change. And this is my specific gift as a coach, as a transformation coach, is working on the edges of change. That's my website, that's my work, because it's so challenging with everything going on internally, externally. You're at the edge of change, and how do you resource yourself so you have the courage and support to go forward into the unknown and not go back like a boomerang to your old established limiting ways because you're too fearful or you don't have enough guidance or support inside or out. So I'm one of your allies, and this webinar is one of them too. Welcome aboard. So I want to take a threshold moment, an invitation to be present to this larger perspective that I'm going to offer you, and so that you can shine the light on yours and the world's current initiatory journey. And it's choice-based. What I invite you to do is take a nice deep breath. Just get yourself settled and just close your eyes if you're willing and just let yourself arrive. I know I need to arrive, all the busyness of getting here. So just feel your feet on the earth wherever you are, even if you're lying down, feel your body. And with your eyes closed, take a deep breath in, pulling up life energy and grounding from the earth. Breathe it all the way into every cell of your being. And then a gentle exhalation. Let's do it a second time. You might want to roll your shoulders. Take a breath in, deep breath up from the earth. Feel the grounding support of Mother Earth. And then exhale. Drop your shoulders. Drop whatever burdens you're carrying for a little bit. And then one more time. Breath in, deep breath in. And if it's congruent, you can touch your heart or bring your awareness to your heart. And breathe out, feeling connected to your heart and the earth. And then open your eyes gently and be here. Okay, please have your journal nearby so you can reflect on your personal transformation journey. I'll be giving you a lot of astrological information, but in a way that I think everyone can assimilate. But I'll be pausing to give you moments to jot down some questions. And I will be giving you a handout in a moment, so you don't have to take all the notes. You can have that there with you, okay? Yes, I feel the great vibes here too. Thanks, Marie. Love it. Okay, so I just did the experiential threshold practice. That's me, people. If you haven't worked with me before, I have some Aries energy in my chart. Aries, ready, aim, fire. So I just did the threshold practice before the slide deck. So we're done. Check off the box. That threshold practice to come into the webinar. So here we go. Okay, so this is what I'm going to cover with you in this webinar. The archetypal astrology of key collective cycles of 2022, plus some key upcoming ones, the ones that were in the United States. I spoke about this last year with the forecast. I'm still going to speak about it because the United States is cooking, if we didn't already know, but let's give you some astrology for that. And then especially going to support you with ways to attune with the archetypal opportunities of this year. And then I will give you a Q&A period at the end of the lecture. So what I'd like you to do, because it gets too confusing with the chats in the middle, if you've got a question, jot it down. And when we get to the Q&A, you can put it in the chat. Please don't put it in the chat beforehand because I'll lose it. There's so many comments going on. And you're welcome to be talking to each other in the chat. I know how it goes with webinars if that feels right for you. Now, at the very end, a couple things I really invite you to stay on the call because there's two things I'm offering at the end that are really wonderful. One is a guided journey to work with Jupiter and Neptune as key allies. So it's a guided meditation. So we get out of our cognitive ideas about astrology and we do an experiential process. Yes. And then I'm also going to give you a handout with a bunch of resources, some free, some paid, including a special course that I'm doing for the beginning of 2022 that will include an option to do some group coaching with me if you want. So stay on till the end of the webinar if you can to get information on that. Okay. Let's see, just check in. There we go. Okay. So now this quote I bring many times to my astrology lectures because I think it's just so powerful. It's from Jessica Murray. I'm going to say it again. It will be on your handout, so if you want to have it. It's just a beautiful quote for these times. Mass consciousness change is an agonizingly slow process, but we can honor both the inner and the outer dimensions of life by living through the center of our charts. That is, holding steadfastly to our unique inner skill set while accepting responsibility for living when and where we live. And she goes on to say, if we despair that the necessary social changes are so vast as to be out of reach, we remind ourselves that great leaps of collective consciousness have only ever been achieved in one way, by enough individuals being tuned into the bigger picture and willing to respond to the urgency of the times. And each year we think, is it going to get any more urgent? Well, here we are. Okay. Wow. So Jessica Murray. And again, many of my folks have heard this quote before. It always is worth repeating. Okay. So just a little overview on astrology. I know many of you here are medium hot or hot, but some of you are mild or new to astrology. So bear with me, my established astrology folks, and send some good energy to folks that are just starting to explore astrology. Everything is interconnected, human and other than human, visible and invisible, sky and earth. That's why astrology works, many of us believe, is because we're not separate. The planets, as they move through the heavens, energetically are mirroring to us what's going on inside of us. It has to do with this deep interconnection with all beings. It's not causal. The planets are not controlling us, but they're companioning us as messengers and allies for our own inner and outer journeys. Okay, so what's astrology? It's the study of how the planets and their cyclic patterns symbolically resonate with human life, to say it sort of simply. And what are planets? The planets are symbolic of your core inner figures, because we all know there's a whole family inside, right? There are so many inner characters. Sometimes they get along, sometimes they're just rude to each other. So there you have it. Okay, the planets are named after mythic gods, goddesses, and characters. And yes, Western astrology, which is what I'm a Western astrologer, has to do with being anchored in really the patriarchal mindset of the Greeks, which has deep limitations, but it also has a deep power. So we're using the planets from that system where they were named after mythic characters, gods and goddesses. And here's an example of it, like Mercury as the messenger god and Mars as the god of war, Jupiter of the king of gods. And keep going with your chats. I love sort of seeing them, not to get too distracted, but I do want to say hi to everybody. Hi, Carol in Half Moon Bay. Okay. Now, from a spiritual perspective, a planet symbolizes an archetype, a universal principle or force that expresses in the human psyche and societal behavior on many, many levels. Here's a real basic definition of archetype. Arca first, type model. Energies that have been present since beginning of time and are inherent in our collective existence, often found in the imaginal realm, images, poetry, metaphor. The planets are archetypes. They're connected to these deep, universal experiences in life. So we're going to explore some key archetypal planetary cycles in 2022, and also a few that are upcoming and are present in the US right now, which would give some archetypal meaning for the insanity that is happening in the cauldron of the United States right now. And any of you, you don't have to be living in the States. Many attending are from elsewhere, but we are that big bear in the world, and we move around and make all kinds of energetic and impacts. Okay. So, what are the zodiac signs? The zodiac signs are named after star constellations and appear to form a belt around the Earth in which the planets seem to travel in their cyclic movements. If you look at this image with this slide, you can see an image of the zodiac wheel with all the characters, the inner animals, and then the little yellow dot is like the sun. So if you looked at this image from our perspective on the Earth looking towards the sun, you'd see Gemini on the right, the twins, and Cancer, the crab, on the left. So the sun from this image would be between Gemini and Cancer. We might say it's in the early part of Cancer if we were looking at this image. So as I'm going to be talking about the planets in their positions in the zodiac wheel, you'll hear me say it in a zodiac sign, and I will explain what that means. Now, the zodiac signs symbolize the energetic expression of the planetary archetypes. So at this moment, I'm going to go and get you this resource. You can go ahead and click on that, and you just go ahead and download that PDF, open it up, and you can follow along with the key astrology cycles that I'll be talking about, and you can make your own notes with it. The other thing I gave you on this that's really key is there's some reflection questions for some of the cycles. So you'll have those right there for later on after the webinar. When it serves you, you can go back and take some extended time to journal. But let's do a review of a key astrology cycle of 2021. Ha, the humdinger one. Here's a quote for it from Carrie Thornley. What we imagine is order is merely the prevailing form of chaos. I think that is a really important mantra to use throughout these times, which is, okay, this is the sense of order, but it's actually the prevailing form of chaos right now. Okay. So the main cycle from 2021, I want to review this with you because it still is operative on an energetic level through 2022. It's called Saturn square Uranus. Here's some astrological data. Don't worry if you don't understand this. I'll give you a slide in a moment that'll help you. Okay. Yes, Brooke, gone are the days of the green chalk and blackboard in a school that I used to do this lecture in. Okay. So anyway, okay, don't get distracted by the chat show. Saturn square Uranus, and that happened all last year, but particularly between February of 2021 and the end of 2021. And it really was the need to radically shift life structures to find a balance between security and freedom, both personally and collectively. Like, no kidding, Sheila, right? Okay. And Saturn was in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus. Again, here's the zodiac signs that these two planets were in. Let's give you an image. Back to this image. So here is the Earth. And you can see, now this is not to scale, just so you know, okay? But you can see Taurus the bull, and that little kind of turquoise colored planet is Uranus. Uranus and Taurus, from our perspective on the Earth, square 90 degrees away from Saturn, that beautiful planet with the rings in Capricorn. In Aquarius, the water bearer, which is that constellation sign. So that's what was happening in the heavens. And then archetypally, the two characters have some tension inside of us and in the collective world that we all felt, we are all still feeling, okay? So who's Saturn as an archetype? I like to call Saturn the builder, the structure maker. Saturn in us and the world gives us the gift of integrity and the ability to manifestation. And this one in us and the world is responsible and self-accountable, creates clear boundaries, and claims personal authorities. There's the clipboard. Many of my beloved old students and allies know I call Saturn the character with the clipboard. Okay, what are we doing here? What's the game plan? All right. And there's an image of the mythic Saturn or Kronos, the god of time. Uranus, completely different archetype. Now for something completely different. Okay. I call Uranus the maverick, the change agent. And this one brings us the gift of uniqueness and liberation from constriction. This character in us and the world expresses our authentic self. It wants to release externally imposed restrictions, break free, think outside the box, and dance with chaos. It's like, great, the storm's coming, let's get in there. It's a really different energy. And there you go, order and chaos, Saturn and Uranus. So, Saturn is in Aquarius, which again, remember the zodiac sign is the energetic expression. Well, Aquarius energy wants innovation, freedom, equality, and systemic change. Saturn in Aquarius all last year. Okay, how can we get structure in the midst of all this change? What's a game plan to be able to solidify and manifest sustainable change? Big impulse. Other guy, other character, other gal being Uranus, the maverick in Taurus, an earth sign that's about practical energies. It's sensual, it's stubborn and resourceful. Taurus energy wants security and stability. Well, how in the heck do you find that when it's the maverick dancing there? It's called rug pulled up from under you. And we live that even on a collective level. How many versions of COVID are we going to have to navigate? How much disruption of the chain of supply, schools, all this crazy, crazy energy where we could not get stability. And yet every time a change happened, Uranus and Taurus, somehow we found a way. Okay, how do we navigate this? How do we find security in the midst of change? Sometimes you did, sometimes you didn't. But these are the big energies of last year. So here's a moment. I'm not going to give you long, but just going to invite you to take a few minutes to jot down some things that come up, and you can go back and do a lot more journaling later if you want. So the Saturn Uranus growth opportunity, because remember, that's what we're about. How do we lean in and go through the transformation so that it's effective? Order and chaos, security and freedom. How did you grow through the tension between the need to maintain your own authority and status quo life structures and the need to radically shift to match the necessity for freedom and change? What a question. You got 2 minutes, my friends. Go ahead and just jot something down. Like, where did you see one example in your life where you were like, okay, chaos and order, security and freedom? Okay. You can keep going and ignore me, but of course it's going to be hard because I'm going to blab on, all right? Okay, so now we're going to go to the key astrology cycles of 2022. So number one, very, very important one, expand your faith and visions with Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. Time to activate your greatest dreams and break spells of victimization and blame. So here's the astrology of it. It's called Jupiter conjunct Neptune. And for newbies, I will show you an image in a moment, in Pisces at 24 degrees. A lot of my folks know what 24 degrees means, and they'll go put it in their birth chart and get a better understanding of how this cycle will impact them. But you don't need to know that. You just need to know the archetypal energy to be able to travel with it. It's exact. They come together exactly on April 12th of 2022. However, it is a very strong cycle and part of the whole journey of 2022. It's time to expand your beliefs and your visions. See, Jupiter is about expansion. Neptune is about our visions, our dreaming, our alternate realities. So you're expanding your vision and challenged to release victim consciousness. That's the wounded side of Neptune. And Jupiter and Neptune come together approximately every 13 years. So you can think back to, basically where was I, if I do the math, 2009. You can kind of look at, did anything get started for me with expanding visions and dreams? You can go back and look at that. But let's look at right now. Okay. So Jupiter's in Pisces and Neptune is in Pisces. Remember, the zodiac signs are the energetic expression of the energies. And this is what it might look like. Again, not to scale, okay, because Neptune is much smaller than the big gas planet Jupiter, but I wanted you to be able to see it. So here we are on the Earth looking towards Pisces, the two fish joined together, and then Neptune and Jupiter are there together exactly in April of 2022. Now, Pisces as an energy is a visionary, empathetic, artistic, compassionate energy, and it's drawn to alternate states. There's a quality with Pisces where we kind of, the edges go away. We kind of just be in this sort of amorphous, shape-shifting, changing different realities. And it's a very heartful, empathetic energy. Now, Jupiter, you can see Jupiter as an archetype as the teacher or the wise one. And this one brings us the gift of expansion, including the challenge of Jupiter as a character, which is overexpansion. If this is good, more is better. That's one of the big challenges of the Jupiter character in us. Now, this one expands consciousness, tracks deeper meanings, shares your unique wisdom, and questions entrenched beliefs. Jupiter has a lot to do with our belief systems. And so you can see here Zeus, the king god of the sky, the very patriarchal Greek version. I like this wise elder also. And then it's about expansion. Okay. And then Neptune, you can look at that one as the archetype of the dreamer or the visionary. This one brings us the gift of vision and connection to alternate realities. Now, it helps us connect to visions, imagination, the mystical side of our lives, our spiritual side, and explores illusions and the call to transcend ordinary reality. Now, why there is an image of a dissolving tablet? Because Neptune dissolves regular ego reality. It's its nature as an archetype. It's like, whoo, going into an alternate state, okay? And it's the oceanic deity, the big ocean god from the patriarchal Greek myths, but it's also that sense of unity with things beyond ordinary consensus reality. So when you put them together, you have this expansion that wants to happen with your dreaming and your visioning, but it also challenges you to say, what kinds of altered states am I in? Altered state paradigms am I in that are really detrimental? Where am I under a spell that doesn't work, especially around wounded Neptune energy, which is feeling like a victim, feeling overwhelmed, or escapist patterns? We just check out. We're overwhelmed, just check out whatever, choose your addiction, okay? So here's another chance to just pause and I'll give you a couple minutes. Just jot some things down. I hope you go back and do more journaling on this. But I want to prep you for this upcoming cycle. I expect many of you already are feeling this. So 2 questions to be with. What new visions and intuitive abilities want to grow? What old victimization and escapist patterns want to go? So take a few minutes and just sort of stream of consciousness, jot something down. You know, what are you already noticing is growing with vision and intuition? And what patterns are you go, done, break the spell. Okay. Okay. So now I want to give you a quote from Marianne Williamson. Personal transformation can and does have global effects. As we go, so goes the world, for the world is us. The revolution that will save the world is ultimately a personal one. And without being narcissistic as a human species, nor being caught in dominant white supremacy, privileged class, to me, I believe so profoundly in supporting people in their transformation work. Yes, we have to be engaged in the outer world. We have to activate and do what we have to do to make systemic changes, and we have to change inside. Because if we're caught in our wound patterns and we're caught in our fear, entrenched control patterns, we really can't fully contribute to the change that needs to happen. So I'm just such an advocate for personal inner transformation because I think the ripple effect is huge in the world. So I'm all about that. And I hope that you are too, and that this is helping you with that. So we have the second big cycle for this year is called the Taurus Scorpio nodal axis. And this is happening between January 18th of 2022. We're just about to shift into it and goes till July 17th of 2023. Let me first give you an overview of this. The nodes, there's a south node and a north node, are not planets. They're mathematical points that move around the Zodiac Wheel. And as they move, they're opposite each other and they move backwards through the Zodiac Wheel. And what they are very powerful doorways. The North Node is our point of evolutionary growth. The North Node indicates what's calling us into deeper change, to evolve and grow. The South Node is our old survival strategies. It's the doorway into our past. And it's not to make it wrong. It just helps us understand, oh, this is my autopilot place. This is my go-to place when I feel stressed. I go back to my accumulated habitual patterns, which is the South Node. But the South Node also has the gifts. that we've accumulated and the skill sets we've accumulated. So what happens in mid-January is the nodal axis shifts from the pair of zodiac signs it's been in, which is Gemini, Sagittarius, to a new pair of zodiac signs called Taurus, Scorpio. And the nodes will stay in a pair of zodiac signs for 18 months. And so what's happening when they shift signs, they shift the pair of signs, is our evolutionary challenge shifts. Okay. Now, the last 18 months, the North Node's been in Gemini. Gemini is a sign of diversification, opening up options, being curious, figuring things out, but it also can be too much stimulation on a mental level. Okay, now we're going to move into the North Node in Taurus. So the evolutionary growth for the next 18 months is cultivate self-reliance and address wounds around money, resources, and security. We can already feel that so intensely with what's been happening. The great resignation, the chains, you can't get products. Am I going to survive? Am I going to get COVID? Is my family going to survive? I mean, core. How do we cultivate self-reliance in a sacred way where we are grounded in ourselves? We get what we need. We have available, if we can, that which we need to go forward. Okay. Cultivating your own, okay, I got this, in a loving way, in a sacred way. And then the South Node moves into Scorpio, our old survival strategies. Now, Scorpio is a very intense water sign. It has to do with depth and transformation. And Scorpio has two speeds, on and off. And in its positive expression, it's about getting real and getting down to the bottom of things. In its wounded expression, it's about getting caught in trauma and obsession and manipulation and power struggles. So this is a really potent South Node to be working with for the next 18 months, not just personally, but collectively. Okay, because when the South Node is in Scorpio, we're addressing compulsive behaviors, disempowerment patterns, and sexual healing. Scorpio is about intimacy and sexuality and transformation, whether it be with other people or not. It's your own sense of your erotic self. Now, what is so key here for us on a collective level is when the South Node is in Scorpio, for the collective, more and more of the rug will be pulled up to say, here's what's really going on. Now, there's so many things we know about the manipulation of power and authorities and governments. And it's even more like, okay, here it is, raw. All right. Here's the games going on in the back room, right? Here's the BS going on. And so the thing about the South Node in Scorpio, it can be overwhelming because you're getting all this reality check on this is what's really going on. But it's also really gratifying. Okay, I already knew that, but now it's real. It's like, yeah, this is what's going on. So the opportunity you have in the next 18 months is to keep telling the truth to yourself and about what you see and what your gut tells you, not bullshit from your mind. Okay. But your gut says, this is what's going on. And then say, okay, then how do I ground this? And how do I get self-reliant? Right. Okay. So here's some growth opportunities. Again, jotting down. I'm not giving you a lot of time, but I want you to just, sort of mark it and come back to it. So what are you already noticing about old survival strategies to release? What old emotional patterns with betrayal and disempowerment can shift? The Scorpio. Where are you angry and still resentful and you're cooking in those juices and you won't let go? Or some power games that you get caught in. You're like, I'm done getting hooked by that. Okay. Old survival strategies. New evolutionary path to cultivate. What supports you to be self-reliant and a good resource steward, whether it's your time, your energy, your money, whatever it is. And then around sensuality and sexual healing. What supports you to be more fully in your body and embrace your unique sensual sexual expression, whatever it is. Okay. So those are 3 questions. So I better give you a little bit more time. But again, I'm inviting you, they are on your PDF, but I'm inviting you to just jot something real quickly down. I really encourage you to go back and look at this. So I'll be quiet now and give you a few minutes. Just jot a few things down that you can come back to. All righty, moving along. So third big cycle are seed sustainable and mature relationships with the new Venus cycle in Capricorn. Create more functional relationships and get clarity about what's important in your life. Now, Venus is retrograde, so let's just a little review or just introduction to the newbies. Bless you. Thanks for being here. Retrograde cycles of planets. When a planet appears to move backwards in its orbit around us, it never does. It's just the angle of us moving around the sun and the planet moving around the sun. Sometimes it looks like the planet goes backwards. Retrograde, RX. Those growth opportunities when a planet is retrograde to take a time out in the area of life connected to the planetary character, review, reassess, and redefine. So here's the astrology. Again, it's in your PDF. Venus is retrograde in Capricorn between 26 degrees and 11 degrees of Capricorn. And that's from December 19th of 2021 till January 29th of 2022. So we're still in it. And then there's something called the sensitivity zone. Some people call it the shadow phase as astrologers. What it means is before the planet is exactly retrograde for the 6 weeks that Venus is retrograde from our perspective, there's a time before and a time of after. So there's a time growing up where the issues hit the fan, so to speak, and there's a time afterwards for integration. So the full Venus retrograde in Capricorn cycle actually started in mid-November and will go till early March of 2022. So it's quite a long ways, and it's a really, really key cycle. So again, just an image to take in an image rather than cognitive material. Venus in Capricorn, you can't see fully the Capricorn sea goat symbol, but it's right there from our perspective on the earth. Venus, again, not to scale on the image, is in Capricorn, making this seemingly backward movement. Now, Venus as an archetype is the lover, the relational one. It gives us the gift of relationality and attunement to core values. And this one in us expresses our values and core relationship needs. This one follows your heart, receives and gives pleasure, and loves yourself. Sometimes the shorthand, many of you have heard me say this for Venus, love, money, and values. Okay, what is really important to me? What do I value? What about my relationship journey? And oh, by the way, my self-worth, money and values, resources, all these things are under Venus's connection. Now, the key themes with a Venus retrograde cycle in relationships: acknowledge and shift old patterns that don't work. Most of us have been cooking since December on something in our relationships, whether it's personal, it's professional, it's familiar, going, OMG, this has got to stop, okay? And it's been heating up. Second of all, explore good stewardship with resources, energy. What's draining you and needs to stop or go? It's costing too much. Energy, money, time, stop it, okay? And then the third important one is explore honestly one's unique values and essential needs. This has a lot to do with what really is important to me. Also around loving yourself and honoring self-worth. Those are key themes for Venus retrograde. So here's your growth opportunities. Again, I'm going to move faster now, but you do have it. I actually am not going to give you any time. I'm sorry. The clock is running. Saturn is on my butt, but I just want to flag it for you, and you can go back because it's really important to look at this. The growth opportunities in relationships. What old patterns don't work and you need to release or shift them? Okay, just getting clear about that. Resource stewardship. What responsibilities? That's a Capricorn energy. I forgot to say Capricorn's an earth sign of grounded responsibility and integrity. Capricorn wants things to work. So Venus in Capricorn is saying, whoa, what's not working? What's not sustainable? Gotta change it. Okay. So what responsibilities are no longer yours to carry? And what's costing too much? You know, again, doesn't have to be money, it can be, but it's like your energy drain. You're like, whoa, I'm exhausted with this. I gotta let go of this. Okay. And then lastly, your unique values and essential needs. Where are you trying to belong and get a sense of self-worth that is unsustainable? That is a key question for right now. Please come back to these questions and spend some time with them, either journaling or talking with a beloved friend or ally, because it's really like you're looking for love in all the wrong places, people. Okay, stop it. That's Venus retrograde right now. So, okay, sorry, you can't have any time for reflection right now. We're moving along. Okay. Fourth big set of cycles: review and revise your outworn stories with the Mercury retrograde cycles. Explore how best to grow with the 3 Mercury retrograde cycles in zodiac, air, and earth signs. I'm about to explain that. Just a reminder, a planet appearing to go retrograde means it goes backwards. It's a timeout period to review and reassess and redefine. So there are 4 Mercury retrograde cycles. I'm going to focus on the first 3 this year. They're in January, February, May to June, September to October. I'll go over the details of each one with next slides. But essentially, the take-home point is, because air to earth, so all the zodiac signs are coded into one of 4 elemental expressions: fire, earth, air, and water. And Mercury retrograde cycles this year, the first 3, starts in an air sign and goes backwards, seems to go backwards to an earth sign, and then goes forward again. Now, air is about the mind and communication and ideas. Earth is about grounded, practical reality. So you can do a takeaway here on all these Mercury retrograde cycles in 2022. Time to communicate about practical realities. How are we going to make it work? Great idea on paper, great idea on theory. What does it mean on the ground? How do we implement it? That's sort of an overall Mercury retrograde in 2022 question. All right. So Mercury as an archetype is the communicator and the messenger, and brings you the gift of expression. This one in you and the world receives and processes information and expresses, analyzes and discerns, makes bridges, and is open to change and diversity. It's like, okay, what else is possible? It's an option archetype. Okay. It's also a trickster archetype, because you think it's this, what about this? Okay. It has that quality. So Mercury's areas of life are about communication, ideas, and the stories you share and tell yourself. Now, big opportunities in this year: track what stories are done and stop telling them. It's like, stop it. Stop telling them to people and stop telling them to yourself. Over, done. Okay. Focus on practical and functional communication. What is it I'm trying to say, and what is the end result, and how can my expression help to make that happen? All right. And then shifting outworn attitudes and mindsets that are too small. They're too small for these times. Oh my gosh. The spin cycle we're in right now collectively, it's like, check your dogma at the door if you can, because these times are way too precious and mysterious and crazy and evolutionary that we need to be caught with our old paradigms. So let go of those outworn attitudes. And I recognize easier said than done. Okay. So the first Mercury retrograde cycle, and again, it's in your PDFs, so you can follow along with me. You don't have to get a cramp writing all this down. This cycle, Mercury is in Aquarius and goes backwards, seems to go backwards into Capricorn, the sign before Aquarius. And that's from 10 degrees of Aquarius to 24 degrees of Capricorn for my medium to hot folk. Okay. January 14th to February 3rd. We're already in the sensitivity zone. It started December 29th and continues to February 24th. Key points for this Mercury retrograde cycle. Where do you feel like a marginalized, pissed off rebel? That's wounded Aquarius. Where is your mind made up and entrenched? That's like a wounded Capricorn in control. Okay. And you get the opportunity to look at that and shift it if you can. Freedom and control, Aquarius and Capricorn, is kind of the theme from last year coming with us. Okay. And I suggest you shift to a mature ability, that's Capricorn, to let your freak flag fly. That's Aquarius. And connect with your kindred tribe to affect sustainable change. Aquarius basically wants to be innovative and connected to an alternative, progressive point of view. Capricorn wants grounded, responsible sustainability. So you're working with that through your mind and your communication in this time period. You've already been in it, so you can be watching where you already see that. Again, you can go back and work with that. So just to pause, go back and reflect on that. You've got the PDF to go look at that. Second Mercury retrograde cycle, May 10th to June 3rd, begins at 4 degrees of Gemini and ends at 26 degrees Taurus. The sensitivity zone will feel from April 27th to June 19th. Notice these sensitivity zones are almost 2 months. So this is where archetypal astrology can help you, because if you're like, what's going on? You know, my key phrase is you're not crazy, you're astrologically sensitive. It's like, oh, right, I am tuned into that Mercury retrograde cycle. Got it. What did Sheila say about that? Let me go back and look at my notes. Okay. So Gemini, remember, is this sign of opening up options, being curious, diversifying. Taurus is that grounded, practical, let's get real, let's make sure we're safe. Okay. So the old stories that want to be shifted are, where are you polarized and distracted? That's like, can be wounded Gemini. Where are you caught in survival fears? That can be wounded Taurus. We all have it. There's nothing wrong with it, but just pay more attention. And then shift to an empowered ability to bridge dualities for the sake of mutual survival and to make resources more sustainably shared. How can you bridge dualities? Can you see options? How do we make this work? Gemini, positive Gemini. And then how do we share resources effectively so we don't have to get caught in that constrictive, freaked out survival fear? Okay. Tall order, I understand, but it's great work for us in the coming year. So that's the second Mercury retrograde cycle. Okay. Third Mercury retrograde cycle. Libra to Virgo starts at 8 degrees of Libra and ends at 24 degrees of Virgo. This is going to be September 9th to October 2nd. Sensitivity zone, August 21st to October 17th. Again, see, it's about a 2-month period. So Libra is an air sign that's about balance and harmony and reciprocity and relationships, being, in a reciprocal relationship. Virgo is an earth sign of precision and healing and getting things really in alignment so they work. All right. Now, the old stories you can track at this time. Where are you enmeshed and trying to rescue or fix? That's kind of a Libra Virgo combo, because wounded Libra is over accommodation. What do you want, dear? Okay. And you try to fix somebody or take care of someone inappropriately. Where are you judgmental and caught in perfectionism? That's the wounded Virgo. It's got to be this way and only this way, and you're wrong because you're not doing it right. Okay, that's wounded. Again, we all carry it. But what we want to open to in this time period is shift to compassionate, reciprocal, and honest relationships, inside and out, that embrace humility and acceptance. So it's like reciprocal. Here I am, here you are. How do we do this? And Virgo is not about being perfect. It's about how do we get it to work through working together and finding the form that matches. Okay. And again, tall order, but can you hear what a beautiful challenge for us in 2022, as in the United States, things heat up with the midterm elections. Okay. I'm not going to talk a lot about politics until the very end when I talk about the USA's key cycles. Okay. Bear with me. We're going to take a small pause and break for about a minute. I'll give you the stretch coming up. Okay. Fifth big cycle for 2022. An attitude adjustment for your aggressive mind with Mars retrograde cycle. Courageously stop fighting over who's right and be open to have greater curiosity. Yeah. How about we give that prayer to the entire world, shall we? Okay, just a reminder, retrograde means the planet appears to go backwards, and it's a review, time out, reassessment phase. So Mars is retrograde in Gemini from 26 degrees to 8 degrees from October 30th of 2022 to January 12th of 2023. Sensitivity zone, it will start September 4th and go till March 18th of 2023, a 6-month period. Okay. And again, for the US, our midterm elections will happen in this time period. So this suggests, no surprise to anyone, but this inflamed communication that really needs to be shifted if it can be. Okay. And again, this is in your handout. So from our perspective on the Earth, here's Mars and Gemini, the twins, and it looks like it's going backwards in Gemini, backwards and forward in its retrograde motion. So Mars can be seen as the warrior's advocate. It doesn't have to have a gender assignment. It's a yang energy in all of us, and it brings the gift of desire and action, going after what you want, going forward, having courage. This one takes action and goes after what is wanted, expresses desires and anger, what pisses you off, and stewards your physical vitality, your life energy. It's a very potent, fiery life energy for us, and it's an advocate. Has to do with our agency. Now, the key themes when Mars is retrograde, your life energy, to track which battles you no longer need to fight. Is that ever going to be an interesting piece of work when we come in the US politically to the midterm elections? Is like, what battles are we fighting that we need to stop fighting, people? Okay. Anger, track the source of your anger and how do you courageously transform it? Okay. That takes a lot of courage, but can you do it? And then personal desires and agency. Track what truly deserves your advocacy and engagement. You know, where do you advocate? What are the battles worth fighting? Okay, that's part of what's happening with that. And then again, here's some growth opportunities. You can just keep this as you probably just tuck it away, maybe as something, a PDF on your computer or your device, and then you come to September. Oh, right, Mars, what's going on? Let me get back to Sheila's handout. You'll be looking at life energy, what mindset and communications patterns drain you and need to be released. This is a Gemini mind energy. Anger, what obsessive thoughts drain you and create non-functional anger and need to stop. And personal desires and agency. What ideas and conversations are worth expressing and seeking? Yeah, good questions at the time. Okay. Thanks everyone for being here. Even though I don't get to see your faces, I feel your energy and I'm really, really grateful that you're here. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Diane says it's my first introduction to Sheila. It won't be my last. I'm so glad, Diane. I'm not for the faint of heart, but I'm a lot of fun. Okay. So, yeah. So, a quote from Victoria Erickson. Transformation isn't sweet and bright. It's a dark and murky, painful pushing, an unraveling of the untruths you've carried in your body, a practice in facing your own created demons, a complete uprooting before becoming. Yeah. You got it. Welcome to the United States key cycles and also our life on the world right now. So I want to spend a little bit of time on the key initiatory cycles for the United States. There's 2 of them. I spoke about these in my forecast webinar at the beginning of last year, and there's at the beginning of 2021, and they're still very operative. And my intention of offering this is twofold. One, to help you make meaning out of the tumultuous changes that the United States is going through, and by extension, the world is, because it is the big bear dancing in the china shop. But also, whether you live in the United States or you are connected to the United States, you have family connected, loved ones in the US, you can do your part to help the country. Do your own changes with these cycles, because again, everything's interconnected. The planet, the country goes through these initiation cycles just like a person does. The country, the US, has a birth chart. There's some controversy about what is the correct one, but we know it's July 4th of 1776. And so you can look at cycles for a country as well as for a human being. So the US is in these key cycles. 2 key ones called Neptune oppose Neptune, which is May 2021 to December 2022, and the Pluto Return, which formally starts in February 2022 and goes till October of 2023. So Neptune, remember, is that dreamer visionary, calls us to connect in alternate realities and brings us the gift of vision and revisioning. What I want to highlight with Neptune, and this is the key thing with the US right now, is that the wounded side of Neptune is being caught in a spell where we're in self-duplicity. We've caught ourselves in an altered state that's not healthy. So what the cycle is calls Neptune opposes Neptune. What that means is when the US was born, the planet Neptune was in a certain place in the sky. And it has moved around the Zodiac Wheel to be in a place where Neptune is opposite where it was when the US was born. And on a collective level, the challenge to the country and its soul is to dissolve self-deception, release false dreams and addictions, and revision identity. And so there's this huge, I mean, we all know it, those of us living in the US or Americans or naturally born, naturalized Americans, there is this like, what's reality? Who do I believe? And also some very seriously dangerous addictive altered states, whether people are checking out through very difficult drug, substance abuse, or we're caught in a dogma that is like a drug. We're drinking Kool-Aid, very, very much. And so again, the question, how does a planet oppose itself? It means where the planet is, where Neptune is in the sky right now, is opposite where it was in the sky when the US came into being. So what we have for all of us collectively is this challenge to try to perceive what reality is actually the most compassionate and real, and what are the spells that I'm under. This is a personal level as well as the country's under, that need to be released. The false dreams. A prime example is the challenge with societal injustice, with people of color, with white supremacy in the United States, with religious right, with leftist dogmatism. It's not just picking on Republicans and right wing. It's like all these paradigms and dogmas that were like under a spell. We need to break them. We need to shift them. And then there's the Pluto cycle. Pluto is the transformer, the revealer of the hidden as an archetype. It brings the gift of depths and potency. Now, this archetype wants deep systemic change, to be real and get down to the bones. It explores the themes of power, sex, death, and rebirth, all the taboo subjects in polite society. Okay, Pluto just goes right in and says, take it down. What's really going on? Where are the poisons? And let's transmute them. It's a death rebirth archetype. Very, very powerful. It's an underworld journey when Pluto is active strongly. So Pluto Return is the cycle we're in right now. It's an extremely rare cycle because Pluto takes about 248 years to make one orbit around the sun. It means the US Pluto Return means Pluto is back in the heavens for the first time since the US was born, became a country. Okay, we've gone one cycle of Pluto around the sun. So Pluto is returning to the place in the heavens when the US was born. The exact time for this cycle is February of 2022, hello, to October 2023. But a note, those of you who are astrologers or have worked with your astrology cycles recognize on a personal level, you can feel a Pluto cycle coming 5 years away. I mean, it is such a rare and profoundly strong cycle of change that, the Pluto return for the US, I mean, we could really look at it. It came into effect a long time ago, but essentially we could even look at the Trump era, that whole boom. Okay, people were going into the underworld, because on a collective level, what the Pluto return is asking of the US and its people is to need to take our identity down to the bones, to address the basement shadow issues around power, violence, and manipulation, all in service to effecting regeneration. It's like we have to go into our own basement. And hence, what are we looking at? Enslavement, white supremacy, complete unfairness with economic resources, corporations ruling us. Pick whatever power issue, basement issue, manipulation issue you want. Okay, it's like, here we are. And many of us said as astrologers when Trump got elected in a couple of years back, it's like he's doing the basement work. What his presidency and all that happened around the dogmatism of right-wing supremacy is like, it's always been there. As we all know, it's just like, here, we need to see it. Here, let's bring this box out of the basement and look at it. Very uncomfortable. Pluto cycles are ruthless. They do not make it nice. They do not sweeten it. It's like, here it is, look at it. And that's really, really hard. And yet we all know, for any of us who've gone through a journey of personal transformation, when we turn and have the courage to look at our deepest, darkest material, the deepest wound, the deepest shadow material, the marginalized parts of ourselves, and do some kind of effective shift, we are empowered. That's the regenerative, empowered part. So one of the things the Pluto return suggests for the US is that the regeneration is a ways away. Okay, not BSing you. It's like we're in a really hot 2 years. We know that. And yet you'll see the more we go through 2022 and come into 2023, you'll begin to see the glimmers of the regeneration and the rebirth. It's extraordinary initiatory time, and it's so necessary. Okay. Now, how to support the collective initiatory cycles for the US. And again, this is in your PDF handout. So the Neptune cycle for yourself, again, whether you're in the US or not, it's good work. Track where you need to dissolve self-deception, release false dreams and addictions, and revision your identities and whatever resources you can get to transmute the victim. Okay, to be really kind and loving and supportive in your healing work with trauma, and to recognize the one of you that wants to be staying in a victim role, and do what you can to help that one be resourced so that you can be in your agency and be your visionary self. I understand, much easier said than done. And then for the Pluto return, and again, this is in your PDF, for yourself, track where you need to take your identity down to the bones. Address your basement shadow issues around power, violence, and manipulation for the sake of self-regeneration. And I want to say here with violence, you don't have to have taken to the streets and got into protests and gotten violent. We do self-violence to ourselves. Our wounded voices, our inner critic, our self-punishing characters. It's like, can you look at that honestly, and can you find the resources and the ability to shift the power dynamics inside yourself, to stop manipulating yourself, to stop catching yourself in power games, and to really support self-regeneration, and to recognize in the midst of all this huge, great turning, as Joanna Macy would say, on the collective level, the inner great turning, the great turning of change, what identities are done, and can you let them die a good death? Can you be conscious about that? Can you be resourced? Can you be compassionate? And can you be fierce? Really tall order, but lean into these times. It's really an amazing experience. Okay. All right. So now we come to the Q&A time. So thank you for that, dear ones. I'm going to take a little time of that. And remember, stay if you can. I'm going to give you a guided journey. And what I'll do is I'll take a couple of questions if they come up, and then I'll make sure there's enough time for the journey work and the resources I'm going to give you. And then I'll come back and do more Q&A, which will be recorded if you can't stay on the call. So I take a moment here, and just, if you have questions, I'll maybe take a couple, you can put them in. Okay, Bridget asks, is there any idea about the outcome of these powerful US cycles? Thank you for the question, Bridget. Hard to say. Really brilliant evolutionary astrologer named Kim Marie calls this a soul crisis time for the US. And I have hope that we will come out in a positive, regenerative way. And it's pretty dark with some of our shadow material. I do want to say, for the larger world journey and the US, the cycles, once we get into 2024 and forward, there are so many cycles that say we are anchoring in a new era, which is much more innovative and supportive on a collective level, egalitarian. So it's kind of like a really deep dark night of the soul. And I hope that we come through as a country. But I think we have to do some really profound shadow work first. So that's my take on it. And then Pamela asked, were there other times the US had a Neptune opposed Neptune cycle? Yes, Neptune's is about 165 years cycle. So about 165 years ago, and I can't do the math right now, I should have looked that up, but there was also some dissolving. Somebody might do the math who's in the chat and just put it in, but basically 165 years ago, different situation, but similar archetypal challenge to break free of spells. And then Karen asks, is South Node in Scorpio more intense if I am Scorpio rising? Yes. And this is general question for any of you that know your chart. If Scorpio is prominent, if you have a planet in Scorpio, or you have what's called an angle like your rising sign, that can mean you feel the next 18 months even stronger with, again, the South Node is what can change. What if from my past patterns needs to change? So you might find that your Scorpio intensity, or where you hold on to something, or you get resentful, or you get caught in drama, you might find, ooh, I really am ready to shift that so that I can embrace the gifts of my Scorpio nature, which is my intensity, my truth telling, my power, my intent, my desire for depth. So there's that. Okay, great. Thank you. 165 years ago, 1857, Civil War. Yeah, and the repeat is here because some folks are concerned for the U.S. that there'll be a civil war. I think it'll be on a dogmatic level, which we're already in, and I want to hold the faith and keep the faith that we can go through this transformational journey. And then Ruth asked, is there anything you can say about the interaction between these different cycles? Yes, thanks for the question, Ruth. Here's the beauty of Neptune, Pluto, the double whammy, if you will. Neptune challenges us to dissolve our illusions and break the spells. And then Pluto comes in and says, now that you know what the spell is, let's go underneath and transmute it. So they can be incredibly effective as an archetypal team. But also the challenge is if we get so overwhelmed, we get caught in the Neptune victimization, escapist, I'm out of here. And then we get manipulated by others because we basically are, we've abdicated. We've just checked out. So that means we're just, someone else comes in and is driving the bus. So they take over the power. So that's kind of those extremes. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move on, but do be looking at the chat. And again, at the very end of the webinar, those that can stay on, I'll take some more questions. Thank you, everyone who's here, and the vibration, the vitalness in this. This is so great. Okay, so here's a way to attune with the archetypal opportunities of a key cycle of 2022. I want to give you a short guided imagery journey to Jupiter and Neptune as allies. If you've not done a guided journey, meditation journey, don't worry, you can't do it wrong, especially if I'm working with you. Just like go in and try it out. And why I offer you this is, one, it's a go-to place for my coaching work with my people, is to expand your awareness beyond consensus reality and recognize you have so many levels of wisdom that you can tap that are not just your mental everyday mind. Bless your everyday mind, but it is limited, okay? And so in the guided journey, you'll get a chance to meet Jupiter and Neptune as they show up for you. They may not show up as planets at all, okay? So this is to support you to align with your inner wisdom to follow your greatest visions, okay? In case you need to step away, here's your resources, and you can download it now. I'll be going over each of them, including an invitation to come into my new program and my group coaching program. But just go ahead and click it in so you have it in case you have to step away. You can go back. All kinds of free resources for you to continue your journey of transformation. Okay, so those of you that want to do this journey and stay on, it'll take maybe about 10 minutes, and then you'll have a little time to reflect. So I invite you to, it's going to be a guided journey with your eyes closed if you're willing, doesn't have to be, but I want to invite you to come and be with me with this. And so to begin, just invite you to relax. Okay, first of all, just kind of roll your shoulders, get yourself comfortable, take some stretches. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah. And trust yourself. Have your journal close by. Whatever happens is right to happen with you. There's no right way to do a guided meditation. There's your way. Okay. So begin first by taking a nice deep breath. Breathing in and breathing out. And at the threshold of the journey, set the intention to be open to connect with the ally of expansion and the ally of visioning. They don't even have to be planets or astrology characters, just to expand your vision, allies to help you with that, okay? Just take a moment. You can touch your heart if you want, just to say, yes, I want to connect to these two allies to help expand my vision. And then one of the techniques I have, then tuck that in your back pocket, that intention. Your mind doesn't have to think about it. You've set your intent. And then roll your shoulders and move your body a bit and take another deep breath in. Yeah, and just close your eyes gently. Anytime you can come out if it doesn't feel comfortable for you. Now take a nice conscious breath in And as you exhale, imagine going through your heart to come to a landscape that is an ocean, seashore. And it can be anything. Take yourself to an image of being at the edge of the sea and trust yourself. Some of you will, with your eyes closed, see something. Some of you will just have a felt sense. You might hear the ocean waves, or there might just be color or nothing, and nothing is fine. Trust yourself. So you're at this place where the sea meets the shore. And let yourself, with eyes closed, perceive what you perceive. Let yourself kind of take it in. You might even pivot your body a bit, or inside pivot. Just notice. You might visually see the water of the ocean coming to the shore and notice, what is the landscape like? You might hear the ocean waves, or perhaps the wind, or nothing. Some of you might even smell the salt air of the water, the ocean. Some of you might have a kinesthetic sense of standing on the sand and the wind or the breeze coming around your body. And some of you might sense nothing, and that's fine. And now notice, as you're in this landscape, you pivot slightly and you notice a figure coming towards you. This is your wise one who has the gift of expansion. This one will show up in whatever way is right for you. Just notice this figure coming towards you in whatever way it does. And its form is what's right for you. Human, animal, plant, energy, color. Just let this one come towards you until it's very close. Just notice first if you feel comfortable. This is a version of your inner wise one who wants to help you expand your intuition, your other ways of knowing, your visioning self. So if you feel comfortable, spend a little time just being with this one. There might be a conversation that happens, or gestures, or an energy transmission, or nothing at all. Just being in the presence of this inner wise one to help you expand. And you can be observing this one in whatever way you do, noticing this one, and just ask them, for this short journey, what needs to happen between us right now? And just be open. I'm going to be quiet and let that just be. What needs to happen between us right now? Keep trusting your process and accept whatever is happening. Okay, keeping your eyes closed, let this inner wise one know that we're going to complete for now. You can always come back to this journey, close your eyes and connect in with this one. And then, still with your eyes closed, gently pivot and notice that there is another figure coming from the ocean. In whatever way it comes, this is your inner visionary, this oceanic opening up to other ways of knowing one. Your inner visionary is showing up, is coming towards you from the ocean in whatever form is right. Again, could be a human figure, an animal, a form, an energy, a color. Just notice this one coming towards you. And if it feels okay, allow this one to come close and just notice how it's showing up. If it's showing up, again, trust yourself. This is your inner visionary, the one who opens you to other ways of knowing beyond your consensus self. And this one has, in this short journey, some support for you, some insight or connection for your vision, your greatest vision this year. Whether you know it or not, that's okay. So connect with the inner visionary for a little bit of time in terms of feeding your inner vision, feeding your greatest vision. And ask this one for the short time of the journey, what needs to happen between us around my vision, my greatest vision this year, or visions? Keep trusting whatever's happening, letting your inner visionary know we have a little bit more time. What else might want to happen in this brief time? You can always go back to this one. Okay, trusting you can always come back from this short journey, thanking your inner visionary, the one who expands, helps you expand your awareness beyond consensus reality. Thank that one for coming to help you. And then, if you're willing, shift and thank the inner wise one who came to support you. And honoring the both and trusting whatever happened, gather it to you, including nothing, that is totally fine. Just the intention to do the journey is powerful. Thanking the landscape for receiving you. And then, eyes closed, take a nice deep breath. And as you exhale, imagine coming back through your heart to where you started. Let yourself come all the way back. And then when you're ready, gently open your eyes and invite you to take a few minutes to just jot down in your journal anything that happened that feels right for you. Okay, lost myself there for a while, people. Okay, so now to finish up, thank you. I know this is the formal end time of the webinar. Stay if you can. I want to tell you about the resources and invite you to join me into some really cool courses and group coaching. So, experiential threshold practice. Take a nice deep breath and just exhale. Thank you all. Beautiful, just for being here. So, some encouragement in these times. I said this last year, I'll say it again. Stay awake, keep tracking yourself and the world's changes. Lean into innovative pathways and community, and stay in touch, which you are already signed up. I'll be doing follow-up emails to invite you to come into my email list if you're not already there, because I got plenty more up my sleeves for 2022. Okay. So here's some more resources to navigate your edges of change. And you can go to the PDF that I gave folks. Go ahead and download that if you haven't already, which just gives you click-throughs. It's a PDF with a bunch of hot links to click through to all kinds of resources. First thing, I'm super excited about this. I have just been running a course with the Venus retrograde cycle called Descent of Venus, which is a combination. It's what are called my inner astrology courses, where you have the astrology information, but then you do reflective practices, both journal practices and guided imagery or guided journey practices to deepen the astrology material inside yourself so they can help you make effective changes. So I'm deciding to do another one, and that's this one coming up. It's called New Year's Revolutions. Align your mind, heart, and will with key initiatory cycles. And this has to do with what's happening in the next 2 months with the inner planets, which are Mercury, Venus, and Mars. All of them are in connection with Pluto, the transformer. And all of them are in very strong connections of deep cycles. The mind is Mercury. The heart is Venus. The will is Mars. So it's a really fun inner astrology course. It starts on January 21st. You can click on, and I'm making it really, really reasonable. I like to do 3 tiers of pricing because I want to respect wherever you're at financially. So basically, you can do this course for $29 if you want. The other fees are $49 or $69. Listen, people, such a deal. Okay. So click on that and go enroll. You'll be in a pause point because it'll start on the 21st, but it'll get you going. And it's really amazing what my people in the Venus course have had to help get deeper insights. So there's that inner astrology course. Do it yourself. That's what DIY means. And then with it, you can also pay extra to join a 6-week group coaching session with me while you're in the course to really go in and say, hey, how do we work with this together? So I'll be working with an inner astrology tribe to support your transformation journey. This meets on Fridays, starting January 28th at 11 a.m. Pacific for an hour and a half. And it's limited to 12 people. And in it, we'll be working with what's happening with your practices, checking in. I'll be giving another guided practice, and I'll be working with a few people one-on-one in the center. So it's going to be a really great way to do some group coaching specifically with me and a small group. The link is there if you want to go sign up for that. It's again a 3-tiered price, $300, $450 or $600. You choose what can work for you. But my darlings, come and work with me and get some support for these inner initiatory journeys that you're in. Okay? Then my website, my new website, On the Edges of Change. Just go through On the Edges of Change and all kinds of resources for you. You can go look at that. I'm going to highlight a couple of them and you can click through to get them. I'm really happy about this website that's bringing together all my deep transformational coaching work and the courses that I love giving my people. One of my special things is a free quiz I just created. What's your inner wisdom archetype? It's really fun. You can go take it and find out who your inner wisdom archetype it is. And those of you who know astrology, you will recognize the 4 elements in there, and you will recognize when you go look at it and get the PDF for your inner wisdom archetype. You'll see the signs. You'll be able to figure it out what I was up to. I had a lot of fun making it. It's a free quiz and it's delightful. Go take it. And then I have 2 other inner astrology online courses. Thanks everybody who's given me. Thank you. And thank you all for being here. Yeah. And those of you stepping out, thank you so much. So I have a Chiron mini online course, Explore the Wounded Healer Chiron in Astronomy, Myth, and Astrology. You can click on that. And I have one for Saturn and Uranus that's just finishing. I did a master class, Find Your Ground Amidst Radical Change. Explore the Saturn square Uranus cycle through archetypes, astrology, and experiential practices. It's still relevant. You can go and look at, there's guided journeys, there's lectures on the astrology of Saturn and Uranus, and it's really great fun. Okay. Also, my free Window of Wisdom 7-day challenge. This is a free, easy 7-day course. You get a guided journey daily that takes no more than 10 minutes, and it'll help you expand your awareness to your other ways of knowing, including the wisdom of your heart, your senses, and your imagination, and your deep thinking. Totally free. Go sign up for it. And then I have a whole page on my website with free resources. There's 12 of them. Guided journeys or journal prompts. Go to that, click on that. It's the resource part of my website. Go ahead and sign up for any that work for you. I got a whole bunch of goodies for you, okay? And then my YouTube channel. You can click on that. Right now there are 60 videos, over 60 videos of different kinds. Some are short, 1 minute long, some are longer, old lectures or webinars I did that you can go listen to. And you can subscribe because I put up a new video every Tuesday. So my YouTube channel is called Transformation Journey Roadmap. Go check it out and subscribe. And most of you know about my Astrology Alchemy podcast. It's my weekly podcast on the key astrology cycles and how to effectively navigate them. You can sign up or go look at it on the link. You can also just search wherever you listen to podcasts, Astrology Alchemy podcast, and you will find it. Thank you. So much love to you all. Thank you all for being here. And finally, finishing up, Deepak Chopra. Awakening is not changing who you are, but discarding who you are not. This is a great quote for these initiatory times, and particularly the Pluto cycle. Discard who you're not. You know, it's way overdue. The shelf life is way expired on the limited, conditioned, colonial mindset that we all carry and the survival strategies. It's time to let that go and awake to who we really are for all of us. Because we're all on and in this initiatory journey together. Oh, yeah. Thank you for doing your part. Thank you, everyone who's been here. It's just a delight. I feel your energy. I'm so grateful for my tribe. May this continue to serve you. Your hearts coming right back to all of you. So thank you all. And if you want to stay on for about another 5-10 minutes for more Q&A, and just take good care of yourselves. And remember, you're not crazy. You're astrologically sensitive. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for saving me the hassle of trying to figure this out. Okay. Ruth asks if it's about the full 2022 cycles and how they all might interact since they overlay each other over the year. Great question, Ruth. And it's true for any key cycles. Every year we have all these overlapping astrological cycles. So the way I'd respond to it is the primary one is the Jupiter Neptune. So the deep opportunity to break the spells of the limited victim, overwhelmed, addictive, escapist energies, consciousness that we all carry out of survival strategy, so that we feed the visions, the big visions for our life. That's the dominant one. And then we have these other ones like, okay, the Venus retrograde cycle says, what's really important to you? What do you invest your life energy in? Maybe given the big vision that's calling you, or the vision's calling you. All the Mercury cycles, Mercury retrograde cycles this year are basically air, earth. You got these ideas, you got this concept, you need to revision it, retrograde, to make it more practical. So it's a great support, the Mercury retrograde cycles support. Here's the vision calling me. Oh, what are the ideas and the way I communicate that's really grounded? How do I test it out? How do I pilot the ideas in my life and work with it? At the end of the year, the Mars retrograde cycle in Gemini really challenges us to say, what ideas and thoughts are causing me anger, or I'm spending my energy in a certain thinking that doesn't work. And I really want to have agency. I want to have power with the ideas that do work. So you see that really supports in a beautiful way all of those characters, plus the nodal axis shift North Node in Taurus, get real, what's functional, what gets me grounded, and what gets others grounded, and how do we utilize shared resources in an effective way? And can we release the survival strategies of always getting caught in drama and power struggles? Much easier said than done, but that's really kind of in a synopsis how they can all come together. Thank you for that question. Ground truthing our visions. Mira, yes, there we go. I just spent a couple minutes saying what Mira said with a couple of words. Okay, so yeah, have what she's saying. Thank you, Ruth, so much. Okay, so I'll pause if there's any other questions that want to come on. Otherwise, I'm going to blow you kisses and say thank you all so much for being here. Okay, Janine says, remind me what happened 13 years ago. That's the last time that Jupiter and Neptune came together in the heavens. And so it seeded new visions. So you could go back and look at the year 2009, roughly, and say, did any new visions or ideas or aspirations come forward that I started to expand in 2009? Because on some level, you are harvesting what got expanded or seeded in that year, if you remember something. And then there's new visions that want to come in now for this year. All right, darlings. Thank you. Send the blessings of this time together out for all beings. Take good care of yourself in this year. And just know you've got so many powerful inner and outer resources to help you grow fully into the radically authentic being you are, because the world needs us to be that the best way possible. So